Hi, I'm Melinda May,
And I'm Trevor Knight.
and we are singer-songwriters based in New York City. We both live in Brooklyn, and we're doing a podcast together to promote our upcoming show on November 20th and our upcoming singles November 8th.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into, music, processes, and then a lot of non-music related things like challenges and barriers and
Life stuff.
So,
Last meal before you die stuff.
yeah, which is an important thing to think about. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I think you'll find it's interesting and fun, if nothing else. So thank you for taking the time to listen.
Thank you so much. Enjoy. This is our first podcast.
It's probably a good quality to have, but
What?
to think things are easier than they are. Sending videos was pretty easy, Trev.
I mean, like, if that
It only
is...
took like 35 back and forth texts.
If that
And you
is...
staring at your Dropbox for an hour.
If that's a quality, I definitely have it. Yeah. I'll fly there by myself and I'll figure just go. It'll be good. It's not
Even after the fact, even after you've already completed something that was difficult. Not like underestimating the difficulty of something you haven't done,
Yeah.
but like something you've already done.
What's the most difficult thing you've ever done? This isn't one of my 4 questions. I just want to know right now.
Oh man, the most difficult
Still
thing
close to you.
I have ever done was collegiate rowing, for sure.
Why?
I mean, I had no experience with it. I'd been an athlete my whole life, and I thought I was going to play baseball in college. That didn't work out, so I just decided to try this totally new thing, and it was by far the hardest thing I've ever done.
I just turned my mic off. I don't know if I'll stop doing that. You thought you were going to play baseball in college?
I did.
Wait, you did play baseball in college, or you thought you were going to?
I thought I was going to.
Oh, and why didn't you?
A number of factors. I don't know. I basically set up my whole life to play baseball in college, and then I started applying to schools, and some of the schools that I got into weren't like perfect matches for me baseball wise, but were probably better opportunities for me in general. So I decided to go that route and go to like the school that I thought was the best fit, and then try to make baseball work if I could. Tried for like a year and a half to make the team, didn't work out. So yeah, then I walked onto the rowing team.
Wow, I think that's so cool. I think it's so cool that you have a failure that affected your life.
Oh,
Like-
it changed my life dramatically.
Yeah, I was gonna do this thing, but it didn't work. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now some of my closest friends are people that I rode crew with, and I don't know, and the things I learned from that sport probably far outweigh what I would have learned in baseball. And I think just at the most basic level, the athletic experience was way better.
It's way harder.
Yeah, I don't know,
You have to push yourself.
basically we would train for a couple hours a day on pain tolerance. It was all just different lengths and different types of pain, and how to stash it away, and
That's so cool.
how to recognize when you're at different stages of it. And now when I do a normal workout at the gym, it's okay, I know exactly what this feels like and how much I can do after I've reached that point,
Yeah.
which I don't know. Maybe there's some of that that's not good, but it also makes things seem less hard, daily stuff. I don't want to sit down and write this email, but it's I've done way harder things.
Okay, so exactly what you just said, I think is probably why I think the Dropbox thing wasn't a big deal. I'm sure, I'll stare at my phone for an hour and send you 35 text messages. I'm because that's why I asked you. I'm have you done that's really hard that you think that was hard? But either way, you're right. That's not ideal. We shouldn't be doing 35 back and forth messages and stuff. But and not to say I've lived this hard life, because that's not true. God has been with me the whole way, and sometimes I think of it and I'm I can't believe how much God has protected me and helped me. Anyway, but yeah, that was my point. I was gonna tell you something else too.
So what's the hardest thing you've done?
I would say the hardest thing I've done, challenge to overcome, and not biggest challenge to overcome was definitely moving to New York. It was really, really hard.
Like the process of moving, or like after like getting comfortable in New York?
The process of moving was the easiest thing I've ever done. Literally, like, get on bus, get off bus, get on subway, show up at apartment, look around apartment, sign lease, get back on subway, get back on bus, go home. And like even like pack stuff, get in car, parents drive to New York, unload car.
We're just taking out articles out of the sentence to make it more like
get
in car, get on
Oh,
subway.
yeah, it was a rhetorical choice. I liked it. I don't know. So anyway, that part was easy, but then like being here that first year, it was really like, it was just really challenging, like trying to figure out who I was in this, not who I was, like I knew who I was, but, in every way that I could be challenged, like I just was personally and spiritually, and like it was everything all at once. And it was it was just a huge, huge adjustment. Like I told you, I lived in a Hasidic Jewish neighborhood for a year. And so like it's literal culture shock. Like I don't say that like as a thing, like I was in culture shock, and I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get hired anywhere, and ended up working at like a kosher restaurant, a kosher pharmacy. I told you this once, right?
Yeah.
And all of that, and like I'm not going to say I had no friends. I had like 3 really good friends, you know, thank God, and they're still my friends. Anyway, but figuring all that, like it was the time in my life where I grew the most. So yeah.
Had you ever been in a situation, I mean, obviously not to the degree that you were, but had you ever been in a situation where you were like utterly alone like that?
Yes.
Like before you moving to New York?
Oh, no.
So that was like in addition to, adjusting to like everything that New York is, it was like your first experience like by yourself.
Yeah, and just to like hit that home, so you know how we were setting up, and I'm just like, yeah, go, okay. So that's how I was moving to New York, you know. I was just like, everything like 1, 2, 3, just do it. And my friends threw me a surprise, like going away party, which was amazing. And I still have pictures from it, and it warms my heart. But people were crying, you know, they were like, you're leaving. And for me, I was like, guys, I'm just going to go to New York, grab an apartment real quick, play a bunch of songs. Like, I'm still going to be here with you. Like, don't you understand? Like, I'm not really leaving. But they understood deeper than I did. Like, no, I was leaving, you know, and I didn't get that until my parents, like, brought all my stuff in my apartment. Like, we moved me in, and again, like, go. And as soon as they
left.
Yes. And literally the shutting of the door and my parents driving away, and I just bawled because it hit me for the first time in that whole process of like, I'm alone. I have no one. Everyone's gone. And then I remember this other time. So that was that. Okay. Like getting through that. And then I had no idea that I had moved to a Hasidic neighborhood. I had no clue. I literally got off the train, signed the lease, got back on the train.
So how did you like find that place?
Because I moved. It was just a cheap apartment, and I had moved into.
So you just like looked like based on price and just found a place. That
my friend Brittany had already been living here, so I went to high school with her. We weren't close. We're very close now. She's family to me, and she's like family of my family. But during the time that we lived together, we weren't close. And so like she was like, yeah, live with me. Like, I'll take care of it. I'll find us a place. And I was just like, cool, that's settled. I'm going to focus on other things, you know? And so, but you know, I came during the Jewish holiday Passover, and in Borough Park, like they literally tape off whole sections of the store because, like there's dietary restrictions during that time. Anyway, so I'm walking around Borough Park. I'm figuring out like, why are the stores, like why are the grocery stores, there's this whole section's taped off, and I'm trying to figure out, like, I had no clue, just clueless. And anyway, so I'm starting to figure that out, and I will never forget that 4th of July, laying on my, 4th of July in America, like, come on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're outside, like, you're at a cookout, you're with your friends, like, you're watching fireworks. And I'm laying on my bed alone and thinking to myself, and I'm finally figuring out, like, where I am and what's going on. And I'm thinking, like, how am I going to really what I was thinking is like, how am I going to like show people the love of Christ here? Like, how am I going to do that here? Like this just seems impossible. And I remember like laying on my bed that 4th of July and just praying like, God, if there's like one way that I can be, if there's one person that I could be a blessing to here, like just let it be, because I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So that was definitely there. And there's like Trevor, there's so much more to that. But that's like a snippet. So yeah. It worked out though. And like God just had me, and like and to swing back to like, doing rowing and like figuring out your pain tolerances. I walked to this pharmacy every single day crying because it was so hard working in this pharmacy. Like it was just fast paced. People will yell at you. Like it was crazy. And I would just cry working there. Like, I can't do this, but I have no other option. And that seems so like, yeah, sure, I could work in a pharmacy, Sure. But at the time, like I didn't have that. I didn't, and now like looking back, I'm like, I'm surprised that scared me to do that. 'Cause now that wouldn't scare me, but that's how life goes. So yeah, anyway, yeah, that's the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like establishing a new like threshold for yourself.
Yeah.
Like knowing what you can and can't do. Like knowing if you haven't done something, you don't know how anything similar to that is going to feel or how you're going to process it. But once you've done it, now that's your bar, and okay, I can do that. What's like the next thing I could do?
Exactly. And it like grows your faith too. Like when you do something really scary and you're like, I'm going to take it on faith, and then it works, you're like, okay. And then you do something else and you're like, I'm going to just take this on faith. And then God's there. You're like, oh, I trust you. And then it just builds this relationship. You're just like,
it's a habit, becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Doing things on faith.
Yes. Yeah. And you're just like, no, I've seen what happened here in the past. Like, I know I'm good, 'cause like, yeah. Anyway. So yeah. So these questions were not what we had planned. Were
No,
they?
no, not at all.
I knew this would happen. We were just going to talk.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. Let's get a little bit on track though.
Okay.
I'll go first. I'll ask you a question since I just talked a lot.
Okay.
I am so excited about Not That Kind of Guy. So, like, for people listening, Trevor's single is called Not That Kind of Guy. And I was telling you this last night, and I've told you this before, but even if I didn't know you, like, I would be blasting that song. I would be putting it all over my social media. Like, I would be saying, like, pointing to it, like, look, like, like, because I just think it's so, there's a lot of songs by like young women, and women who are like, like that, GRL EP I sent you with that song.
Sure. Yeah.
That's like, listen, Meghan Trainor has a lot of songs like that. Like, hey, I draw a line and like, no, like, and
right.
kind of like, I'm not that kind of girl. But I don't think I've ever heard like an I'm not that kind of guy song. And it's so affirming because it's like, hey, it is okay to be not that kind of girl. Because like some guys are not that kind of guy. Okay, long lead up. But I want to know, like, where did that idea come from? How did that get inspired? Do you remember the first moment where you started being like, I have an idea. Like, I want to make this. So, like, how did writing the lyrics of that song, how was that born?
Interesting question. So everyone's songwriting process is different. And, like, you learn that from songwriting with other people. But for me, I almost always start with some sort of musical quip. So, like, a lot of times it's a chord progression. So I'll just, like, sit down and I'll, like, mess around on the keyboard. And eventually I'll, do 2 or 3 chords in a row, and I'll be like, oh, that sounds kind of nice. And then, I'll loop that a bunch of times. Then I'll come up with a melody that I think sounds nice over that. And then I will literally think, okay, what mood does this melody sound like, or like what syllables fit into this melody line? So that's how I normally write songs. With this one, I guess it was a little bit different in that I don't know. I think it happens a lot with songwriters and creative people. You just get a random, like, something pops in your head. So, like, this one little like riff that dun-dun-dun-dun, like popped into my head, and I was like, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so like that little thing popped in my head. It was like dun-dun-dun-dun, and I was like, oh, that's something. That maybe that's a start of like a hook melody. And then as I started to kind of use the same process that I would have used and think about, okay, like what's the mood of that? It's like a little bit defiant, it's like a little bit fun. And then I was like, what's
Which is so my style. Sorry, just to interject.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, so then I was thinking, okay, like what words make sense? Like syntax-wise, they fit the melody and make sense with like the mood that like evokes. So I was like, dun 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 dun, and then I eventually settled on like, not the kind of guy. And then I was like, okay, if that's part of my hook, now that's my theme. Like, what is that kind of guy? What would not that kind of guy look like? What kind of guy am I? Like, how do I make this a song that I can actually write and sing and have like meaning? And then as I started to kind of flush out this concept, I don't know. I think you're totally right. I think like women empowerment is a huge thing, especially like this day and age, which is great. Like you should maintain your individuality and like be okay with, you know,
whatever, sticking to your values.
Yeah,
like,
100%. But I think it's a lot rarer for that narrative to be applied to men. I think
It's
men
almost
are
non-existent.
I think men are often put in like huge sweeping categories, like, oh, men are blank, you know, like, oh, I don't like guys 'cause guys blank, you know. It's like all guys have some sort of set of qualities that they all share, and maybe that's true to some degree, but I don't think there's any reason to believe that guys don't have as much individuality as women do. So this was kind of, as this song developed, I basically just put like what kind of guy I am into this song. Like if I'm going to say, okay, guys have individuality, what makes me individual? That's what this song's about. And so like basically it's just kind of, it's very much my style. It's like, you know, it's fun and it's like poppy and it's playful. And it's generally like wholesome, but at the same time it's kind of like
finish. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's also just kind of like an anthem, just like a lot of like female empowerment anthems. It's like no matter who you are, no matter like what everyone else is doing, whatever like the stereotypes of whatever kind of person you're supposed to be are saying, you should be comfortable in your own skin. Like you should be exactly who you want to be, and you shouldn't be afraid to like show what that is.
Yeah. And my favorite part about Not That Kind of Guy, one of my favorite parts is that there's a strength to it, and there's also like a sass to it. Like when you're like, I told you this, but my favorite line in that song is like, I'm misquoting it, but something like, there's plenty of guys here who will buy you a beer, like move along. Like, you know, that's amazing. Like there's a certain like strength in that of just like, no.
Yeah, and I think you see that a lot in like female empowerment songs.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just think when you have one genre of songs that's like, I'm a woman, like, I don't need this in my life, I know what I want, like, step off. Like, you have that genre of song, and then you have the guys on the other side that are like, I'm gonna rock your world, like, I'm super cool, like, you know you want me. It's like, that's not how all women and all guys are. Like, there are people with those narratives on the other side, too. So, like, and I would venture to say that there are a lot of guys that don't align with that whole like over-sexualized like womanizer thing. I think the majority of guys are like generally nice, like normal guys, and like the like boy bandy like songs that come out with, you know, that like aggressive like alpha male narrative don't represent the majority of guys.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I think, so, like, the reason I decided to record this song is, like, I did a show in the summer, and I sang, like, 6 or 7 of my original songs, and then I sent a survey out to, like, everyone who was on my email list who was at that show, and was like, what did you like the most? Like, what do you think I should record next? And it was like almost unanimous. It was like, you need to record this song next, which was weird because it was the one that took me like the least amount of time to write, and it was like my newest song. And I was just playing it because it was fun to play, and it was like this new thing I had, and I was like, I want to showcase this new thing. And I think people hooked onto those things that I said. I think people recognized like, this is an interesting narrative.
There is a little bit of defiance there. I think defiance is probably has the wrong like connotation, but that's kind of it. Like there's a rebelliousness to it, you know, like that's what like I like about it. I like anything that the world is telling you like flipped on its head, you know? And so when I hear that, I'm like, yeah, like, you know, like, so yeah.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. I'm really excited about it.
So kind of segue into, so I just kind of talked about like what motivated that and like the aspects that like make me the kind of musician I am. So I wanted to volley like a super general question, and you can go whatever way you want to go with it, but why are you a musician?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because like it's such a good question. I wrote down in 7th grade, we were supposed to write this letter to ourselves in the future. I don't know. But what I wrote was like, it was like, write down your plan. And I said, I will try to go to, like, even in 7th grade, I knew. I'm like, I will try to go to Penn State to study engineering. I'll try it. But I know.
It was a qualified statement. Like, I will try, not like, I'm going to.
No, it was you're right. It was saying like, I was saying, I know that I want to do music. I know that I want to, but at the time, like, even in 7th grade, I was like, but I can't do that, you know? So I was like bargaining with myself. Like, you know, you have to go to Penn State to study engineering. Cause I already I was a good student, you know, and like stuff like that. And I knew I liked engineering. I knew that's what if I was going to go to school, it was going to be engineering. And, I'm like, but if that doesn't work, then I'm going to do music, which is interesting because it's a little backwards. Usually it's like, look, I'll try the music thing. Yeah. And if the music thing doesn't work, I'll go back to school. But
my
it was
backup
like,
safe plan is engineering.
But I knew deep down, I'm like, I know I only want to do one thing. And I was like 8 years old telling one of my best friends, like, no, like, when I'm 16, like, I'll be a singer, thinking like 16 is an adult. Cause I was like 8 saying this. So like, this was always in me. I want to share one other thing with you too about this, of why I'm a musician. So I also remember being like a little girl, like I must have been 9 or 10. And the first like really real prayer, is it the first real prayer? One of the first that I remember praying is like, I was overcome with this idea that I had the ability to sing, but not everybody did, you know? And it scared me in that moment. I realized in that moment, I'm like, I didn't pick that. Like, I didn't do that. Like, I can sing, but these people can't. And I was on my knees alone in my bedroom. I remember the lighting. I remember what it was. And like looking up to God and asking, like, please don't let this just go to waste. Like, there's a reason for this. Like, I have to do this. And I'm telling you, Trevor, I had to be in 2nd or 3rd grade, you know? So all these little things leading up. So, okay, I forget I ever wrote that letter to myself. I forget I ever prayed that prayer. Now I'm a teenager. I'm in high school and I go to Penn State and like, I never
like on a visit, like before your...
No, I attended Penn State. I went there for 2 semesters. And so, but like, I just knew the whole time. I'm like, I know I want to go do music. One thing leads to another, and I end up leaving Penn State and starting a band and making a record and blah, blah, blah. But, sorry.
Quick interjection.
Sure.
I want you to finish the rest of that story. What were like the ramifications of that? Like, how did you bring that up to the people that cared about you?
Yeah.
And like, how did it affect the relationships that you had at school?
So everyone in my life, was like, including my mom and dad, the reaction I got from my parents was like, we know. We know. And my mom says to this day, she's like, I never should have pushed you to go to Penn State. She's like, because my mom, like, I didn't even apply. Like, I didn't want to do it. I just knew. I'm like, this is the responsible thing. Like, you know, like, just do it, Melinda. And my mom even says to this day, she's like, it wasn't necessary. You know, like, you didn't have to do that. And my dad was just like the same thing. And my friends who were going to Penn State, well, Erica was going to Penn State, and my friends who were like also in college, they were like, yeah, this is what you, like, it was that easy. There was no opposition. There were one or two voices that were like, Melinda, like, stay in school. But I was so like, it wasn't a big decision for me. I knew what I wanted since 7th grade. I was just telling myself I couldn't do it. Anyway, so, yeah. And then, yeah. And, but so that's how I became a musician. And I guess why I remain a musician is because I really think music is more powerful than we even understand or give it credit for. Like, I think there's a huge spiritual significance to music. And I think the music that you listen to, like, matters. And I really believe on like on every level, it is such a good way to help people and to affect people and to positively influence. And so I guess to sum all of this up, and I guess to two main points of why I'm a musician. Number one, because God said that I would be, and I said yes. And number two, because I really want to be impactful in my life and purposeful, and so does everyone. And I'm convinced that for me personally, this is the best way to accomplish that. So that's why I'm a musician. So my prayer is that, you know, in the same way that Not That Kind of Guy has like a message and it's encouraging. And when I hear it, I'm like, yeah, like, you know, like I pray that my music is just like, you know, some songs I listen to and like, it makes me like wake up a little. I feel encouraged, you know, and like I walk with my head up and I'm just like, cause it speaks truth into me or whatever. And that's what I want my music to do, is like, is just be helpful and influential positively. So that's a really, really good question. That was a brave question. So good.
I think you answered it well.
Thank you.
I think they're all very valid points. Like, I think if like you said, most people do, if your, you know, desire is to be impactful and to, you know, help people, motivate people, change people, what better way to do it than with like something that you've been given a gift to do, and something that is so like so intertwined with every aspect of life that it's so noticeable. Like, there's a reason why every person at the gym is wearing headphones. There's a reason why, like, you walk into a bar or a coffee shop and they're not playing music, you notice right away. You're like, oh my gosh, like, why are they not playing music? Or if, like, you go to a party and like having a playlist is like a huge thing, you know? Like, every person on earth, 7 billion people, have some connection with music, you know? And that's not the case with hardly anything in this world. Like, a lot of people don't have a connection to science. A lot of people don't have a connection to sports, but like everyone has a connection to music. And it, like, I totally agree. If you're given a gift to understand it and to use it and to create it, it'd be a waste not to.
You have to do it. And also because like, well, somebody has to do it, because not everybody can do it and not everyone is willing. So I'm very much like, okay, I can and I'm willing, so I'm going to, you know? But also, like, yeah, there are, like, as far as we know, like, there's never been a culture that has not had some form of music. Like, it's so tied to being a human. There are cultures that don't smile, like, on Earth. Literally, smiling's, like, not in their culture, right? Which you think is such a human thing, you know? But it's not. It's cultural. But music is one of those things that's not cultural. Like, it's human.
It's innate, yeah.
Yeah, it's human. So... And, you know, it comes in all different forms and sounds, and there's some we would listen to and not even identify as music, but that's what it is. It's a pattern of sounds that evoke something that you cannot express without those pattern of sounds. So, yeah.
There it is.
Also, I just want to add that Trevor, for our last party, was in charge of the playlist that duty was given to you Just
I think
'cause
I did a pretty good job.
you did great. I still listen to it every once in a while.
It's you can find it on Spotify. It's entitled
What is it entitled?
Wholesome Rager Jams Both You and Your Sweet Grandmother Can Enjoy.
I forgot
It's-
about that.
I think every song in there is clean, but it also includes some of like the most notable like bangers of all time. So
yeah, it's good.
your sweet grandmother will also enjoy it, to be sure.
It was perfect. Okay, so I'll ask you a question, I guess.
Okay.
Let me cheat. What did I have planned here? Okay, wait. What did I write here?
Paper towel probably didn't help.
It says, okay. All right, so this is a weird question. So it's not really that weird, but I see Trevor Knight now as like such a songwriter, right? Like
Sure.
very much like, yeah, that seems so right to me. So in the years in like high school and college, and like Trevor, you were a finance guy walking around the financial district in a suit, right?
Back in the day, yes.
I know. Okay, so what were you doing with your songwriter side, like this artist? You're so, like I think I've mentioned this to you, but like you're so clearly an artist, like the way your brain works, like the way you are, like this is an artist. But I would not have guessed that like a year and a half ago, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't have either.
So like I guess what I'm trying to ask is like what's the way that you were thinking about your abilities and like your gifts and your drive to like create stuff, and like where were you putting that as like rowing in college and then working in finance?
I guess the short answer to the question of like what was I doing with that aspect of who I am, like the
Yeah.
creative side, the artistic side, is I wasn't doing anything with it. I was
Didn't expect
ignoring
that.
it. I was ignoring it. I was covering it up with other things and filling the space with filling my time with other things, and it became so noticeable. Like I've been a musician my whole life. My mom put me in piano lessons when I was 5. Like I sang in choir like all the way through high school. I took voice lessons in high school, and then I sang a cappella in college and like arranged a lot of music. And music was just like such like it was like a normal part of my life. It was like waking up in the morning. It was like something I just did. So in that respect, I think we share that it was like innate. It was something that like it was a fabric of who I was. And I
There.
recognized that it was a gift and like not that many people had it, but I would be lying to myself if I was like, I'm going to do this professionally and I'm just like biding my time until that day happens. I didn't know that. And to be honest, I wasn't like striving for that. But when I left college and I started, working in finance in New York, like a lot of people do, it became noticeable so fast. Like I took this aspect of my life that had in a lot of ways shaped who I was,
Wow.
and just like ignored it. I didn't even put it on the back burner. I took it off the burner. It was gone. So I was like going to work. I was coming home, going to the gym. I was making myself dinner, maybe watching like an episode of Netflix and like going to sleep. And that was it. And like literally in a matter of months, I realized like I think a lot of people have that moment in their life. Maybe it's sometime in their 50s or maybe sometimes it's in their 30s, but I was like, this can't be it. Like this cannot be like, and it had nothing to do with my job. Like I liked my job. Like I've always been like a very analytical thinker, and I was working with numbers all day, and it was like fast paced and it was dynamic, and I got to work with people and I got to work on a great team, and I've always been like a team oriented person. So like, and the hours were good. So like my job was great. So, but something I've come to learn, which I'm sure you've learned as well, is that like finding what you're meant to do and doing what you should do and what God wants you to do isn't always about saying no to bad things. It's about saying no to good things sometimes. Like saying no to things that are objectively good, but they're just not meant for you. So, like, it became so noticeable in literally a matter of months that I couldn't, like, just go on taking this aspect of my life and pretending it didn't exist. You know, like, if I have ability to, like, listen to a piece of music and know what the bass line is and harmonize with it and, like, arrange it in a few hours, like, I can't just ignore that for the rest of my life. You know,
No.
it doesn't work that way. So, like, as I started to take little steps, like, I bought a keyboard and I started playing in my room, and, like, then I recorded a cover, and then I, like, made a video of it, and then I went to an open mic night and played some cover, and it was like totally botched it, but it was like every little step I made, it was a domino effect. It snowballed. It was like, it made me want to do more. It gave me, like, every little taste I got about, like, post-academic life in music, like, outside of commitments that I was signed up for, you know, like choir, like a cappella, like whatever. Every little bit that I made the initiative to do made me want to do more.
Yeah.
And so, like, gradually I went from, you know, totally ignoring this side of my life to being like, I can't even say it was a choice. It was like, this is what I have to do. Like,
That I completely relate, and, like, that is exactly the way to express it. Like, it wasn't this big decision I made. It just, I got to do this. Like, you know, like,
and I get that question sometimes, like,
Yeah.
especially people that know me as, the econ major in college who was working in finance, and then I tell them, okay, now I'm doing music. It's like, how did you make that decision? And, like, how did you go about making that transition? And, like, I always tell them it was, like, so much easier and more seamless than it sounds, because it wasn't a decision. It was just like, I know.
yeah.
Like, and that didn't happen overnight, but like, over time, as I, you know, got my feet wet and, like, figured out, I don't know, I had never, like, introspected and been like, what is this, like, creative aspect of me actually, like, what is it made of? Like, what does it do? Like, what is the potential it has? Once I started to tap into that, it was I knew I had to do it.
That's incredible. That's amazing, because first of all, like, it's such a success story of, like, I had this potential and I knew that it existed, and I, like, took a risk, you know, and now I'm exploring that, because I think that little voice is inside everyone in some way, and maybe it's not for music, it's something else, of, like, I think I have this potential, but, like, I know I need to just stick to the thing I'm supposed to do, you know. And the fact that you're, like, you took the risk to explore that is just, it's like, it's almost archetypical, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, yes, like, that's life. It's so good. Do you remember, I was thinking about questions and I was reflecting on this. Remember when I ran into you in the financial district and I had my guitar in my back?
Yeah, of course.
And, like, I look back to that now, and, like, I did not know you were an artist, or I just ran into Trevor, this guy I knew working in the financial district. Like, oh, hey, Trevor, I think you're, like, in a suit or something. And, like, I'm just like, yeah, I'm, like, doing something, playing a show, going somewhere with my guitar, you know, like, bye. And, like, wow. And now you're you now, you know, like.
Yeah, and I don't think like, my character's changed. I don't think, like,
I think you're totally different. I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I think, my life's obviously different, but
You're still you.
yeah, no,
Sure.
like, I'm just using the abilities I've been given in a different way.
I just think it's really neat. It's neat.
I'm glad you think so. I think it's pretty neat too. I'm having a good time.
Good. Tag, you're it.
Tag, I'm it. Okay. Ooh. Switching gears here a little bit.
Please.
Cookie cutter music interview question. Greatest influences as an artist, and then greatest influences as a person. Just overall.
Your questions are so hard and I like it. Okay, greatest influences as an artist. Sometimes I think your influences are ones you don't actually choose. Like, people will say, like, it's different to say who are my favorite artists and who were my most influential
I agree.
artists.
Those are different questions. Yeah.
So I'm going to bring up two artists because I have memories of these things. I remember I remember being in Mrs. Grimes's class, who was my first grade teacher, and I knew every word to Jagged Little Pill, the Alanis Morissette album. Now, at that time, I was like, a first grader, and that album had already been out, but somehow that just like Alanis Morissette. Do you know who she is?
Yes.
So I know that influenced me. I just know it, like even as a person, like I just know that that's in there somewhere, and I still love the album Jagged Little Pill. I think it's one of the best of all time.
I haven't listened to it all the way through.
I don't.
Sounds like I should.
Well, yeah. I don't know if it would speak to you, but somehow it definitely spoke to me. Now, I can't explain how that album would affect a first grader, but I liked it. And then the second, and it's like one of those things that just kind of like struck me at the time and stuck with me. And then I remember being in the back of my friend Maria's car when I was 14, and she was a bit older than me. She's family now, still is. And she played John Mayer, and I was like, it was the song called Why Georgia. And
yeah.
Yeah. And the lyric is I can't remember the lyric, but something about like, like not fitting in, but like you keep going, something that just resonated with me a ton. And I was like, who is this? She's like, it's John Mayer. So then I went out and bought Continuum, that album, and John Mayer is huge for me. Like his early albums, especially. Have you listened to like Room for Squares or
I've listened to a lot of his early music. I can't tell you what album it was off.
Gotcha. Yeah. But all of those early albums, like Continuum, I love John Mayer. He's because I think I relate to him in that he thinks a lot,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Prolific songwriter.
And he's such a good songwriter. Yeah. And like his songs are like such a mix of like emotional stuff, but there's something intellectual about it, I think. Anyway, I don't know. So yeah, I'd say those are my two like really big musical influences. And then the other part was my influences in life.
Yeah, as a person. Like if there is someone who like informs who you are, who you want to be as a person.
I think, well, I'll say this. I really always wanted to be like my mom. My mom, Trevor, is the sweetest, nicest, kindest woman. And everyone just loves her.
It's weird because my mom's that person too.
Slightly hyperbolic. So like maybe both of our moms, like they've got they're in the top 5. Maybe one of your moms are like in there too. But my mom will she will go to war. If she believes in something, like she believes it and she will fight, and she's so strong. But she doesn't come off as this like strong, like she doesn't need to, So I always wanted to be like my mom, and I remember thinking that. And like I have memories of my mom just being so soft and kind, but I've seen her like yell at some teachers of mine, like, whoa, yeah. So that was a time I can remember like striving to be like someone. And then, that's the only one. There's been other obviously influences in my life that kind of like affect me a little bit, but I wouldn't be comfortable being like, that's an influencer.
Sure.
But that one I can stand by and be like, yeah, I'm good with that. Like I could bring up like a psychologist whose work I got into where I was like, oh, that affected me. But like, I don't want to say, because with everyone's like work who put stuff out there, like we were discussing our buddy last night, our podcast person, who we were discussing. I don't want to say it because I just don't. But
this is obviously going to go viral, and he'll watch it, and we wouldn't want to call him.
Well, what if somebody who's watching this is
no,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, I don't want to be critical of anyone.
Sure.
Like, because first of all, we love him and he's amazing, but I love him. Maybe you don't. But anyway.
No, I appreciate his work for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting. But with every like podcaster that I listen to, every musician that I'm into, like I take what I like about it. And like, there's always some things that I'm just like, not that though. So I'm careful about what I identify with because of that. I also overthink these things, Trev.
Well, I don't know. That's the nature of producing content in general. Like that's the reason why you have to continually produce and do it consistently, is because not everyone is going to resonate with everything that someone produces. You're going to, like, this guy we're talking about, he has hundreds and hundreds of podcasts, right? And you like...
And millions of listeners.
Yeah, and you like the majority of them. But, like, if you do hundreds and hundreds of anything, you're going to have ones that aren't as good. You're going to have ones that not everyone resonates with. Like, if you're a musician and you come out with 3 albums or whatever, 45 songs, there are going to be some of those songs that, like, even your best fans just won't listen to. They won't like. And, like, that's the nature of producing content. That's the nature of being a human. Like, you're not going to hit a home run on every pitch.
Trevor, if I could somehow like really internalize that, it's very freeing. Like, I know that that's true, right? But it's very good to hear you say it, because yes. Because I'm very much like, I was born a perfectionist. Nobody put that on me. I remember the first time I ever got one wrong on a test, and I remember it. I got a big 98. I spelled something wrong and bawled my eyes out, and my mom was holding me going like, Melinda, you don't have to be perfect, you know. And no, if you met my parents, it would take you all of 10 minutes to realize, like, these people are not requiring perfection like of their kids. Like, they're not like that. But I believe that was my personality. So that's something I've had to overcome, and I have overcome it, but it's still always good to hear, like, and you've been like encouraging to me, because you're very much like, get it out there, like, do it, you know. So yeah, you're right about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, I love baseball, and so I'm obviously biased, but, like, there's a lot of lessons like that in baseball. Like, if you are a career 300 hitter, which means you get a hit 30% of the time, like, you're a Hall of Famer, you're in the top 1% of everyone who's ever played baseball.
I had no idea that is
so
true.
If you hit 300 in a season, that's a good season. That's like a great season. You might be an all-star if you do that. If you hit 300 for your entire career, you fail 7 out of 10 times, you are like a Hall of Famer. You will be remembered forever for being a great baseball player. You know, and I mean, baseball isn't applicable to life in every sense, but there's a reason why there's 162 games in a year, and why you get several at-bats a game, and why you need 3 strikes to be out. It's like, humans aren't perfect. Like, if you fail a majority of the time, but you have, like, successes at key moments and on a consistent basis, like, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Things are going to be fine.
And that's why, like, in the beginning of this conversation, I love that. That's why I said, like, I love that you thought you were going to play baseball in college and, like, worked at it and then failed, because, like, such goods failed, you know, but you didn't really fail. You're just on a different path, but in a way you failed at that thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And, because like, that's so important, and that's how you grow, and, like, you have to do those things to get stronger, and, like, that's all part of it, you know. Yeah, and it's freeing to remember that, you know.
Yeah, 100%. So we're at 49 minutes.
We need to wrap this up. Trev, did we just seriously talk for 49 minutes?
Yeah, we probably would have for longer if I wouldn't have just checked what the...
Yeah.
I guess that's the nature of a good conversation, right?
Yeah. We have a very easy time having conversations.
Which is good.
It is good.
Which is good.
It's helpful. You know what I think we should do?
What?
Wait, we should wrap this up first.
Yes.
How do we wrap it up?
I thought you were going to suggest something to wrap it up, but you were going to suggest something totally different.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do we wrap this up?
Maybe, like, one question that has a short answer that we both answer.
Okay. What will this question be?
Last meal on Earth. Okay, so what time is it? It is 12:33. Okay, it's 12:33 p.m. At 1:15, the world is going to end, okay? You have just enough time to fully enjoy your favorite meal. What is it?
Okay, get ready. I want Greek yogurt, not the sugary kind, totally plain. Doesn't matter what brand it is. A little bit of pumpkin spice yogurt on the side, but just a little bit, maybe
Not
like
mixed.
two. No, they have to be, they're just side by side.
Separate containers.
No, they're in the same bowl.
Same bowl, but just next
This
to each
is
other, but not
literally-
touching.
You guys,
You put like a
this-
paper divider in there.
This is what I've been living off of, this particular meal. And I mean living off of for like 2 weeks, okay?
Oh, your life must be great. You're living off your last meal. Like
No.
you're living off your perfect meal every day.
Well,
That's
because-
pretty dang
Well,
nice.
you're asking me like what I would want to eat right now. And like that's how I work. Like I only eat one thing for like a really long time. Okay. Then, Trev, you get peanuts, but the ingredients are just peanuts, no salt and no oil. Ingredients, peanuts, period. And you sprinkle those on top.
Okay.
Toasted coconut, but again, ingredients, coconut, no other nonsense.
Toasted coconut on
No
yogurt,
sulfur.
underrated for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you put toasted coconut on your yogurt?
I've been known to, yes.
It's so good. Okay, next step, very important here. Have to go to the store if I run out. Blueberries, need them.
In the yogurt.
Yes,
Okay.
this is all on top. It's like a pile.
Okay.
Okay, and then peanut butter. Now, it can only be peanut butter ingredients, peanuts. There's nothing else. No corn syrup, nothing. Okay. And then this I think is the most important ingredient. It's pink Himalayan salt. And just
On the yogurt.
on the whole thing. Just crack, 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 crack. Pink Himalayan.
Is there a difference between table salt and pink salt
Yes.
and table salt and Himalayan salt?
We don't even have time to get into this. Yes, Trevor. It's all so good.
Maybe my palate just isn't as sophisticated as some.
You need the pink salt. And that is the meal I have been living off of. And that's what I ate this morning. And if I were... if
Okay,
it-
so just to clarify, the world is ending, okay? Everything you have ever known and currently experience is coming to an end, and you are going to have the meal you already had once today.
I want what I want. That's what I want.
That's great. I'm happy that the meal that is your ideal is constantly at your fingertips. That is
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
You are
my
very
life.
fortunate.
I'm so easy to please. It's ridiculous. I know. That's it. All right. How about you? Go.
Wow. I mean, I'm a huge Greek yogurt fan. You've seen my fridge. Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. So Greek yogurt and, a lot of the fixins you put in it, peanut butter, raisins, like coconut, all that stuff. That makes up like the bottom of my food pyramid, like the base. Like I eat more of that than anything else. But if I was dying in 45 minutes, I wouldn't have Greek yogurt. I have Greek yogurt all the time.
So what would you have?
I would have, buckle up,
Buttercup.
I would have a pepper crusted filet mignon, probably about like 10 ounces. Because like I could eat more than that, but like there's other aspects to this meal. I don't want to
wow.
diminish those. So pepper crusted filet mignon, blue cheese crumbles on the top,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. Maybe like a little side of A1 steak sauce, not to use on the whole thing, but just in case I need it. Side of truffle mac and cheese, obviously.
Wow.
Side of
Unbelievable.
garlic mashed potatoes with a little bit of like red Idaho potato skin in there.
Oh, that's so specific, but so right.
Side of steamed charred broccoli. Okay, so I got my broccoli, my mashed potatoes, my truffle mac. Man, that's a great meal.
That's a great meal.
So I would do that, and then probably like a
What are you
Dr.
drinking?
Pepper on
Oh,
ice.
there it is.
I never really drink
A
soda, but if
Dr.
I was
Pepper
dying
on ice.
if I was dying in 45 minutes, I'd probably have a Dr. Pepper on ice, and then I would have a slice of ice cream cake.
This is really important. I would have cold brew. A lot of it.
You don't want to get amped up for the end of the world.
No, the cold brew is like the most enjoyable beverage on earth that I found. Pellegrino. I'd also have Pellegrino.
Ooh, Pellegrino's good.
Yeah, those two, for sure. And Essentia. I was gonna lift it up, but it's pointless.
So
my
yeah,
favorite
that would probably do it.
That's
That would
valid.
make me a very content man going into the abyss.
But do you really want to eat that right now?
This is a hypothetical scenario.
But you said if we're gonna die in 45 minutes.
I use that as like a barometer to say, okay, this is like
I-
you don't have time to like, go to Europe or something. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like the world is ending and I have a bucket list. It's the world is ending and I can do one thing and it's eat a meal.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not, a Tuesday at 12:30 is like the base of this hypothetical scenario, and I'm sorry if you interpreted it that way, and that's fine if you
No,
did. But
my answer is still correct. That is what I like eating.
Okay.
If
so if this were a Friday night at 7, that would still be your last
that's
meal.
what I want right now.
That's
the pumpkin
amazing.
spice, the blueberry, coconut. It's all there. Anyway,
Wow.
wait. Let's tell people to come to our show.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a show coming up. It is at Rockwood Music Hall, which is on Allen Street near Houston in the Lower East Side of New York City. It is November 20th. That's a Wednesday, and it starts at 8. I'm playing a lot of songs that I wrote. Trevor's playing a lot of songs that he wrote. We're going to play one song that we wrote together. We'll play some songs together as well. It's going to be really fun.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah. We're working really hard on things, and I just think it's going to be a great night out. It's going to be, I'm excited.
It'll be uplifting. I think it'll be uplifting.
Yeah. That's the goal. That's what we want,
Yeah.
is that you'll leave and, like, you ever leave a show, Trev, and, like, you feel good the next day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For
and,
sure.
like, for days? Yeah. So that's kind of the goal here. So come, and you'll feel good, and it'll be fun.
Yeah. And we're both releasing new singles in advance of that show.
Yes.
So, like, when you come to that show, you will have already had the chance to hear new material that we've both released, which will be cool as well. So look out for those.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Not That Kind of Guy, and then my single's coming out. It's called You Like Me Better With My Makeup On, and it actually has a really similar theme. But yeah, so check those out and come to the show. And thank you for watching this. And I'm going to be bold and ask you to please share this. Yeah.
Yeah. If you enjoyed it.
Do it.
If you didn't enjoy it, you don't need to share it and be like, look at this awful video.
Don't do that. That's dishonest.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
It's dishonest because it's obviously a great video.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.